Good day, people of YouTube. What's going on? The name is AK, owner of eXtremeAzure Productions, and I'm here to bring you yet another X-React video presentation. And today's video is pretty interesting because I'm going to be talking about Microsoft and what they're doing with their upcoming system, Project Scorpio. Now, Microsoft first announced the Scorpio at the tail end of their E3 2016 press conference, and rumors of a brand new, more powerful system had sprouted a few weeks earlier, and Microsoft finally confirmed it, like I said, at the end of their E3 2016 press conference. And it was a pretty interesting reveal. They didn't actually show off the system, and Project Scorpio is obviously just a code name, but they did show off, renders of the system's hardware, its inside hardware, and they really pushed the fact that it is set to be the most powerful console ever released to date. Now, of course, rumors of Sony's more powerful system had also sprouted around the same time as what would become the Scorpio, and of course that turned out to be first the PlayStation 4 Neo, which is now known as the PlayStation 4 Pro, which will be coming out in November. Now, Sony just fully revealed the Pro a couple of days ago, and there they showed off how the games look. Unlike Microsoft's reveal, Sony actually showed off games running on PS4 Pro hardware. They do look pretty good. They don't look exceptionally better than the original PS4, but they do look nice none the least. It's an upgrade, but it's a small upgrade, but it's a noticeable upgrade to an extent. But you really only get the full experience if you own a 4K TV. Now, the thing about the PS4 Pro is that while Sony has when they had announced the system, they stated time and again how it's going to produce games at 4K. They later clarified that it is not true 4K, that they gave a really weird measurement. They said it's 90% of 4K because the PlayStation 4 Pro isn't powerful enough to render all games in full native 4K. It's actually upscaled 4K, but it's not as simple as just upscaling. It's called checkerboarding. It was just a fancy term to say that it's more than 1080p, but less than 4K. And what the system is doing has a lot of fancy rendering techniques that are going on in the background to simulate 4K. So not as good as 4K. According to Sony, it's 90% of real 4K, but it's not full 4K. There are many articles that go in depth about this and videos here on YouTube, so I'm not gonna bother, echoing them. But the point is, the PS4 Pro can do 4K, but it's not full 4K. It's 90%. According to Sony, 90% of real 4K. Microsoft, on the other hand, right after Sony had announced the PS4 Pro, Microsoft was quick to respond by saying that they aren't worried about it. They aren't worried about the system's power because they know that they will be providing the most powerful console to date. They stuck to their guns and they reiterated that many times in their reaction to the PS4 Pro. The specs for both these systems were leaked earlier this year, and so we knew from the very beginning that Microsoft was developing the more powerful system, and that turned out to be true because the PS4 Pro can only do about 4 teraflops. I forgot the exact number, but it's in the range of 4 teraflops, something like that, 4 point something teraflops. But the Project Scorpio can do 6 point something teraflops. So on paper, it's obviously the more powerful system, but of course, paper specifications and real-world performance are relative. All right, something can sound really powerful on paper, but when you put it in a real-world setting, it kind of differs. But Microsoft has now clarified that the Project Scorpio will indeed do real 4K. It is powerful enough to render games at full 4K. Now, this isn't the first time that they've said this. They've actually said this since they first announced the system. We wanted to clarify that with developers have the option to use the system's added power as they see fit. Developers can try using it to get their games running in native 4K, or they can use it for other things like perhaps more advanced AI, better, richer textures, more graphical effects and things of that nature. Not just so much the resolution, but that power can also be managed in other ways. But Microsoft has recently come out and said that the system is indeed capable of running in native 4K, and for its first-party games, so take that in mind, its first-party games will be rendered at native 4K. So other developers have the option to use the power however they want, but Microsoft will have its own studios running games at native 4K on the Project Scorpio. So that's pretty interesting, and it's quite the contrast from what we've been seeing with the Xbox One, because as we know, the Xbox One is slightly weaker than the PS4, and we've seen a lot of games have the resolution gate, as people have liked to call it, where games have been running at 1080p on PS4 but only 900p on the Xbox One, and in more extreme cases 900p on PS4 and 720p on the Xbox One. So Microsoft is now completely flipping the script, where they will indeed have the more powerful system, and while the PS4 Pro is simulating 4K, the Project Scorpio will be able to handle full 4K games, and that's quite the achievement. But it should be interesting to see exactly how much better games are going to look on the Scorpio, because again, games look better on the PS4 Pro versus the original PS4, but it's a marginal upgrade. It's not that big of a deal. It's not a huge jump like from standard definition to high definition like we saw from the 6th to the 7th generation. We're never going to have a jump like that again. So it should be interesting to see exactly how much better games are going to look on the Scorpio compared to the Pro. Probably not that big of a deal. You know, really, it's most likely going to be where the die-hard fans are the only ones who really take it that seriously. The average customer probably isn't going to care. They just know there's a new Xbox, there's a new PlayStation, and they're going to buy one of each, or probably just one. Yeah, like I said, the die-hard fan, you know, the core gamers, those are the people who are really going to care. The average customer probably isn't, and Microsoft has said time and again that this is not the end for the Xbox One. The Xbox One will continue to live on along with the Scorpio, just like how the original PS4 is going to continue to live on with the PS4 Pro. And it should be really interesting to see, you know, if these brand new systems are going to actually survive, because this isn't a generational transition, this is a mid-generation upgrade. So because these systems are being sold together, not where consumers are being pushed to buy the new system, because these systems are going to be supported at the same time, they're going to be sold alongside each other for the rest of the generation. So it should be interesting to see exactly, you know, how this works. But with the Project Scorpio, the Scorpio is such a big boost over the original Xbox One, you might as well consider it to be an next generation system. You know, the PS4 Pro is better than the original PS4, but to a smaller degree. Whereas the Project Scorpio seems to really have enough power to consider it a brand new system, not just an upgrade. So I don't know if, well, you see, the thing is that Microsoft is trying to do away with console generations. According to them, they no longer want to have a system for each generation. They just want hardware to continue, kind of like PCs. You know, better hardware will gradually come out, and games will continue to be supported on the older hardware as well as the newer hardware, not having one system for 6-7 years and then make a new system and then transition over to that system. No, they're trying to have both systems out at the same time, and they'll be supporting it alongside each other. So it should be interesting to see exactly how this works out, because the power difference is so great. It's going to be interesting to see, like, if developers are going to have trouble running games across both platforms. You know, Microsoft has constantly been saying no one's getting left behind. You know, if you own the original Xbox One or the Xbox One S, you'll be getting the same games as the folks on Project Scorpio. The games are only going to look better and stuff like that, but it's going to be the same games. The systems are going to be fully compatible with each other. There's going to be no differences. Everybody works together, everybody plays together, everybody has fun together. Yeah, that sounds fine and perfect, but what happens when developers need to tap into that added power of the Scorpio as well as the PS4 Pro? What happens when the added capabilities from those systems allow a game to run really well, but when trying to run it on the older hardware, the older PS4 and Xbox One hardware, what trouble are developers going to run in with that? Because every generation, when we have that generational transition, there are cross-generation games like we have seen many times. But of course, you know, this only happens for like maybe the first 2 and 3 years, and then once that's done, then developers fully transition to the new systems. They leave those systems alone because they've been working on them for 6-7 years already. So that's done, that's finished. But now we have weaker hardware and more powerful hardware in the same realm being sold alongside each other. So it's going to be really interesting to see exactly how Microsoft and Sony tackle this brand new issue, because it is an issue that developers are going to have to overcome. And yeah, it's weird because it can't really be compared to anything. Nothing like this has ever really happened before. Like I said in my previous video talking exclusively about the PS4 Pro, the only thing that we have to compare this to is the Nintendo 3DS and the new 3DS. And the thing about that is that there have been games that are only on the new 3DS. But the majority of titles run across both systems, the original 3DS and the new 3DS. But there are games like, for instance, Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, which are exclusive to the new 3DS because the original 3DS cannot run those games, or at least it can't run them properly. And so Sony and Microsoft has been saying the opposite. They said that games will be across both the PS4 Pro and the original PS4, and Microsoft has been saying that games will be running across both the original Xbox One, the Xbox One S, and the Project Scorpio. So it should be interesting to see if this really can happen, if developers are really going to be able to balance that out so that their games can run on both the more powerful hardware and the weaker hardware. It's kind of similar to what they have to deal with PCs, because of course there are millions of configurations of PCs out there. Some are weaker, some are real stronger, some are a bit in between. So we've never had to deal with that in the console space because consoles have been separated by generations. But now we have these mid-generation upgrades, and in Microsoft's case, they don't even want to deal with generations anymore. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this all turns out. So first-party games on Project Scorpio will be running in native 4K. That is quite the achievement because the power that is necessary to run games at a native 4K resolution is very, very, very high. That's not an easy thing to do. So the fact that Microsoft has been able to build a console that can really do it, it's an achievement. I gotta give them a hand clap for that. Achievement unlocked. You can run games at native 4K. And now by the time the Project Scorpio comes out, we'll see exactly how far 4K TVs have come, if it's going to be more of a common thing, because that's hopefully what Microsoft is banking on, that by the time the Scorpio comes out, the average consumer will know what 4K is, and they may have at least one 4K TV in their household. So we'll see how the adoption rate turns out then. But I'm going to avoid this video running for too much longer, so I'm going to end it here. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you tune in to the next episode. If you haven't subscribed already, now is a great time to do so. Try and get these videos out more regularly. But if you really want to stay connected with everything that I have to say, please check me out on enthusiast.gg. That is where I post all my articles under the username PrinceAKR. You can go ahead and post yourself, because this brand new website that my network Enthusiast Gaming has built is supposed to be a place for gamers, for you to go ahead and post whatever you want dealing with video games. So go ahead, check out the website, sign up, start posting, and get active in the various communities. We have communities for all of the different parts of gaming, PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox, and PC, as well as a few other communities. So go ahead, check it out, post, and check out my posts as well. Until next time, guys, I will catch you later. This is AK, owner of eXtremeAzure Productions, signing off.